The U.S. bishops are suing Trump's administration over refugee funding freeze. This is a real report. This is CNA posted today, 9:05 a.m. Probably haven't heard of it yet, but yeah, the bishops of the United States are suing the Trump administration over refugee funding freeze. Gotta be awkward for JD Vance. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops is suing the Trump administration over what the bishops say is an unlawful suspension of funding for refugee programs in the United States. Upon taking office last month, President Trump issued sweeping executive orders that, among other measures, directed a freeze on foreign assistance funds and grants, with the White House reporting to uproot left-wing initiatives and federally funded programs. The orders have led to a flurry of legal challenges from advocates and nonprofit groups arguing that the funding freeze is unlawful. Other groups, such as Catholic Charities, have urged the president and its administration to reconsider the freeze, citing the crucial care that the funding helps provide. In their lawsuit filed on Tuesday, so that would have been yesterday, in a U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., the USCCB notes that it has worked with the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration for nearly half a century in order to assist with the refugee settlement in the United States. The Refugee Bureau has committed around $65 million in federal funding to the USCCB and its affiliates for refugee services, the bishops say in their suit. So they're suing because the bishops are no longer receiving this $65 million federal funding. That's what this lawsuit is about. That's what the lawsuit is about. No longer receiving the $65 million, which they say is very important to receive to help people. It says, yet on January 24th, the State Department suspended funding without prior notice, with the bishops receiving a cursory 2-page letter informing them of the suspension. The results of the suspension have been devastating, the bishops say, with the prelates reporting millions of dollars in pending and unpaid reimbursements for services already rendered to refugees, along with millions more each week. The USCCB has laid off 50 employees or more. It faces irreparable damage to its longstanding refugee resettlement programs and its reputation and relationship with its sub-recipients and the refugee populations it serves. The bishops argue that the funding freeze violates the Federal Administrative Procedure Act, which oversees how federal agencies administer rules and processes. They also say that the freeze violates the separation of powers under U.S. Constitution. In their suit, the bishops asked the court to strike down the funding suspension, and the bishops in January asked Catholics to reach out to their members of Congress and request the resumption of foreign aid. They say the pause will be detrimental to millions of our sisters and brothers who need access to life-saving humanitarian health and development assistance. So the bishops are arguing that unless they get this $665 million, that people are going to lose their lives or lose their good health or assistance for living. That's the claim. So people are going to die. People are going to get sick or remain sick and also have difficulties with living conditions is what they're indicating. So they are suing the Trump administration. If you take a look at the lawsuit, it says United States Conference of Catholic Bishops versus the United States Department of State, Marco A. Rubio, Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, Jennifer Davis, United States Department of Health and Human Services, and Robert Kennedy Jr. There's a whole lot of stuff there. It's interesting also that I don't know how this really works. There's going to be some people who will, point out that there are some moral problems with what is taking place here and even suing in this kind of manner. But the bishops are insisting that it's necessary for a number of reasons, including, again, life-saving humanitarian health and development assistance. I do suspect that this decision, though it was filed in court on Tuesday, obviously it didn't start on Tuesday, right? This takes some time to prepare. This is 62 pages. It's pretty lengthy. That takes some time to prepare. Okay. Now, Pope Francis has been in the hospital for 6 days. But prior to that, he was over in the Vatican. I suspect it took more than 6 days to prepare this lawsuit. I suspect that they ran it by the Pope before they did this, because I doubt very seriously that the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops would sue the president's administration without permission without some kind of green light from Pope Francis. And if they're now suing the Trump administration without the green light from Pope Francis, you really have to wonder, what's going on. Do they think that Pope Francis is not going to survive the hospital scare, and that's maybe why they took the opportunity? I don't know. Either way, we don't know if he has approved of this, but I suspect he has given some kind of green light to it, because I doubt very seriously that the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops are going to formally sue the Trump administration without approbation from the Holy See. And it's interesting that this is what the U.S. bishops decide to sue a presidential administration over, given other things that they perhaps could have sued over but didn't. So yeah, maybe just kind of contemplate that and some of the implications, and also, it kind of puts things into perspective. It shows us perhaps why there wasn't really that much of a response to the Biden administration on part of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, why there wasn't more resistance towards Nancy Pelosi. Kind of shows you where the bishops and the USCCB are coming from, what perspective they're coming from, what they value, what they don't value. So yeah, I think it really does speak volumes. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/Reason and Theology. Are you seeking clarity in the midst of confusion about Eastern Orthodoxy and Catholicism? In my book, Answering Orthodoxy, I offer a biblical and historical response to the most common objections that Eastern Orthodox offer against the Catholic Church. This book is for anyone searching for the truth, whether you're Catholic, Orthodox, or simply trying to make sense of the differences between Catholics and Orthodox. Order your copy today and discover the rational, biblical, and historical basis for the Catholic Church. Visit Amazon to order your copy today.